Brian, how are you?
Keeping well, Brian. How are you keeping?
Great, yeah, really good. Enjoying this October weather. We're getting some
I
nice weather at the moment.
tell you, it's crazy, isn't it? I hope it gets colder for Halloween, though. I'm not a big fan of the madness of Halloween. Rain and cold for Halloween, not for the kids. They happen at about 7 o'clock. I want
Rain and you're wishing for rain and cold for the trick or
about
treaters.
7, 8 o'clock when the madness really starts. My poor dog can't handle the bangers at all. My
Oh
dad has
no,
had to bring her out to the airport. She just really can't cope. So
no way.
yeah, Halloween isn't a great time for the dog, but here we'll get by. We always do.
Boy, you bring the dog out to the airport. Go on
My dad
holiday.
was, sits out there for 6 hours every Halloween. Fair
No
play to
way.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
No bangers out there.
Right, okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. So listen, how was your week? How did you get on against your three priorities?
I tell you, I'll be honest, it's been a hectic week in the best kind of way. It's been crazy busy. I haven't had time to breathe. Lots of queries coming in, lots of information coming in, and it's been manic. But as I said, in a very good way, it's flown in the right direction. But I do feel I need to slow down. And one of my big goals for next week is actually to take a bit of a chill. And I'm gonna go away for the weekend. But for last week, so one of my goals was to get 30% of my business plan done. I'd say I got about 20% of that done, so I didn't reach the goal, but I got close, which I was happy enough with that as well. Another one of my goals was my performance enhancement module business project that I'm doing. And this is sort of run into a problem in terms of how I'm going to brand this. So I haven't so much worked on the actual module. I actually had meetings about this. So I got a lot of work done on it. I had meetings with advisors, meetings with mentors, lots of meetings with mentors, which we're going to be talking about today. So I'm moving the ball forward on that, but it's a slow burn because I need to get the strategy right first. And this is something that I'm working around at the moment. So I moved the needle on that, but it's not there. And it won't be probably it could be after Christmas at this stage. It's
Right.
that kind of a project. The other one was the corporate course that I'm developing. So that's sort of based on one of the the programs that I run, based on my personal program for life, and that is pretty much over the line now. So that is in great shape. All the slide decks are done, ready to go, a month ahead of schedule. I still have to do a little bit of work on a workbook for that, but otherwise we're all good. So I would say 1.8 out of 3.
That's very specific. I
Isn't
was
it? Isn't it? Isn't
I,
it?
I was going to say when I was listening about that performance enhancement stuff there, maybe when we're setting our goals, we should be more specific about the goals themselves. So, like
Yes.
as you said, you move the needle on it, but what does
Yeah.
that mean really? Maybe there was a specific task within that, a
Yeah.
measurable, a smart task that you could target for the week, if you know what I mean, to complete.
To complete. And it's funny, I nearly have that in for next week. That's my
Okay.
target for next week is something very, but it's an arbitrary kind of measure as well.
Mm,
It's the nature of things, isn't it? Especially the nature of the entrepreneurial world. Some things
mm,
aren't really
yeah.
objective, especially when you come to brand and
Mm,
business plans and moving variables. Things are always moving. It can be quite hard to measure. But
yes.
yeah, that's a great point. That
Mm.
specificity is key because especially around accountability, like if you are accountable, you need to be able to measure what you're being accountable for. So coming up
Yeah.
with a metric.
Exactly. Like we can't be saying like I want to make progress on X because just
Yeah,
you might read one page on it or something
yeah,
or do something. Yeah. So
yeah.
if, where possible, be as specific as possible with the
Specifics.
goals,
Yeah,
with the
definitely
targets. Yeah.
great point. How did you get on with your goals for the week?
Yeah. Speaking of being specific, I think I had down number one. I've got a launch coming up next week for one of my online courses. So I wanted to get the videos done for that. So I'd say I've got 75% of those videos done.
Lovely.
So I'm happy enough with that. I just need to finish off those last few. I had 25 new students on another course. So I've just checked in with them, see how they're making progress. So I've done that over the last week. And then the third thing was we had a park kit. We had a trial out in Dublin Airport. Actually, didn't hear any bangers going off now that I think about it. We were up. We had a couple of sessions there last week, and that went really well. So we're hoping to do something a little bit more long term over the coming weeks and months. So they were the three priorities. So again, what would you say? 2.5, I'd say out of three going on
Nice.
those.
Nice.
Yeah.
You won this week.
We should keep track actually every week.
We've never talked about winning before. I'm actually
No.
very competitive, Brian.
Yeah.
So maybe we could bring this winning into accountability.
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's it.
the entrepreneurial mindset. I tell you that.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Our nature is usually
Yeah.
like is a competitive thing. So that could be something to look into. I know we're thinking of doing one next week on accountability specifically. So
Yeah.
maybe we could look into the nature of winning, beating everyone else.
Very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
In an
The competitive
empathic
side.
way. In an empathic way.
Yeah, and it could help drive us towards those goals. So yeah, I mean, why not?
Definitely. Yeah, on a serious note, it could be something to look into. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So listen, this week we're going to talk about mentorships and specifically how to find a mentor. And this is something I've already learned a lot from you on this, because you have some, excellent real world mentors, some other mentors as well. So, and you filled me in over the past couple of years on some of those mentors. So maybe we take it back. Tell me again, like, how did you find these mentors? How did you reach out to them, and what was that process like?
Yeah, I tell you what, the first thing I will actually say to this, Brian, is that the mentors that I have in my life have been astronomical in every aspect of my business career and my personal career as well. Two of those mentors, I would even say three of those mentors have become friends. One of them in particular is a very, very good friend who offers me a lot of time on a personal level. We meet up regularly and we've just become really, really good friends. But overarchingly, they've just had such a big impact on my personal life and other connections that I have. It's just, I'm so grateful for the people that have come into my life through mentorship. And for me, there's loads of great ways to have mentors. Like, you can have mentors that are dead thousands of years by reading their books, or you can have people live in the moment right now. And the ones I'm talking about here right now, like, I do have mentors from books, but the ones I'm talking about right now are the mentors that are in my life right now, who even in the last 2 weeks, I've had dealings with 5 different mentors, which is absolutely crazy when you think about that. It's only really dawned on me because we're having this talk. But how it all started for me was, I remember reading Tim Ferriss's book, Tribe of Mentors, and I love this book. It's basically life advice, tools and tactics from 130 of the world's most successful people in terms of psychology, sport, acting, spirituality, all these different really high hitters in different areas of life. And Tim Ferriss was struggling with a question. He was struggling with lots of different difficulties in his life. And he just asked himself this question: what would this look like if it were easy? And the answer that came out on the page was, when he journaled on it, was, I would have a tribe of mentors of the best people that can give the best life advice for each area of my life. And they would advise me, this tribe of mentors. And he wrote a book about it. And I remember loving this book, reading this book, loving it, and saying, I want a tribe of my own. So in 2017, I wrote cold emails, completely cold, didn't know the emails of these people. So I looked up a list basically on the internet called the 20, I just Googled 25 most influential people in Ireland, men, 25 most influential women in Ireland. And I went through the list and cold emailed these people. So for example, if they were from, I'll pick a company that I didn't, Dell, let's say. So joe.blogs@dell.ie, joe.blogs@dell.ie, jblogs@dell.ie. So I guessed their emails of these CEOs and leading executives, sent them all out, and the response rate was staggering, absolutely staggering. I was blown away by this response, and I basically wrote an article on this, and it was a retrospective analysis of the email that I sent, and I had an 81.6% success rate of people that responded, which was absolutely phenomenal. Now, I've since published that article. It's out there. It's up on my website if anyone wants to have a look. I think it's called How to Find, actually, let me just check it there. If anyone wants to read it, it's called The Email That Landed Me, Interviews with the Most Successful People in My Country. And it's an 81% and a retrospective analysis of that breakdown. And what I call it, like, I'm going to talk about now the analysis of that, of why I believed I got such an amazing response. And I think the subject line was very, very important. And I call the subject line Taking a Punt. So straight away, there was this email from somebody that they didn't know landing in their inbox saying, taking a punt. Like, what the hell is that? I didn't do this on purpose. I didn't even put much thought into this. I sort of just ran with it. And I think that was one of the reasons why it worked. But the email went something like this. So I basically said, my name is Brian Pennie. I'm a PhD student studying neuroscience in Trinity College. but my journey was far from conventional. I used to be a heroin addict. A little bit longer than that, but that's the gist of it. So it created intrigue straight away. Then it says, during the past 4 years, I've met some great people, and I'm looking to further my learning by reaching out to people like yourself. And then I said, as a ridiculously enthusiastic and passionate learner, I've decided to take a punt and reach out to some of the most successful people in Ireland. My goal is to learn new skills and share my knowledge with future generations through my scheduled talks and events. I would be privileged if you could spare some time over Skype, email, maybe even a coffee, to share your insights on how to be successful in this crazy world. So that was pretty much the gist of the email. And basically, because it was so successful, I was like, why did this work? And I done this analysis, and I want to really, if anyone is thinking about doing this, using this technique, here is a few of the things that I done in this email. If they want to learn about it, they copy what I done. So the first thing was, I was authentic. I was completely transparent and stayed true to my real self. Like, I genuinely am a ridiculously enthusiastic and passionate learner. So that's what I said. So I put my heart on the page. And my greatest life lesson has come from that email. And it's basically this: be true to your wonderfully weird self. You'll attract what you need and repel what you don't. So I attracted 81% response. 19% didn't come back. So I repelled them. They didn't like what I was about, but that's a good thing, because if they weren't wasting their time on me, I wasn't wasting their time on them. So I was completely true and authentic to myself, and the people that wanted to get back to me got back to me. So that's a really key, important part, because I think authenticity and feelings spill out on the page, and that was really important. The second was that I was bold and I create a sense of novelty. So CEOs don't get random requests from someone that's a heroin addict. So basically, I jumped out. It was a boldness and it was novel.
It was very different,
very different. It stood out. Another part of it was that I had a mission. Like, my mission is to show people that change is possible. So I wanted to help other people. So that's really crucial as well. What I did there, I think, was I appealed to their nobler motives, their motives of service. So they felt obliged to get back to me and try to help. I also created a sense of intrigue and curiosity. So I'm not sure what you were thinking after reading the email, but I'm sure they were like, who the hell is this fella? What the hell is this about? I started to want to know a bit more. Whether they wanted to help me or not, they were intrigued. And I didn't leave out details to create a sense of intrigue. I didn't want to waste their time. So I kept the email small. If anyone's going to be sending potential mentors an email, keep it short. Don't waste their time. These are really, really busy people. So create intrigue, but keep it short. And then the other big lesson that came from it was, people are inherently nice. And if you give them half a chance, they genuinely want to help. This has been my biggest learnings. They genuinely want to help. And that was my learning. I met up with many of these mentors. I went in and interviewed them, because one of the things I wanted to do was interview them on their skills. And do you know what? That's all I wanted to do at the very start. I wasn't even trying to get mentors at the very start. I don't think I even knew the concept of mentors at the very start. I wasn't fully aware of it. I actually just wanted to find out what that stuff was. So the mentorship came about organically. And two of the people I've built close relationships with, so Mick Slane, I've chatted about Mick many times before. He's the founder and CEO of LED Group Robus. And Mick has been an incredible mentor of mine. He's a great friend of mine now, and we just interact regularly. He's just an amazing human being, full of energy. And here's another important point. One thing that I did when I got advice off any of my mentors, I took their advice and acted and let them know about it. So straight away, I let them know that they're not wasting their time when they give me advice. I act on it. And that's been really crucial to get more advice off them and build those relationships. And then another one that's publicly out there as a mentor of mine, I don't want to talk about everybody because they mightn't want loads of people emailing them as such. John Boyle, who's the founder of Boyle Sports, like, that's a company that has its revenues is near 1.5 billion a year. So John invited me over to stay in America with him at some stage. He was actually a former addict himself. John was 37 years in recovery, and gave me the name of my book, Bonus Time, because he said to me on that first meeting, do you know why you're here? Because you don't give a crap. You're living on bonus time. I was like, boom, that's the name of my book. So that was just the same thing. And something I'd say as well, and I think you were asking me the question, Brian, and you were saying to me earlier on, like, what if you don't have a story to gain a sense of
or as power, like your story is particularly powerful, or
yeah.
let's say you don't have as powerful a story as yours, what would you do, or what would you say in that scenario?
Yeah, and you know what? There's something here because it can't be repeated. What I done can't be specifically repeated. And what I find is if anyone gets a lot of joy in a certain area, it's something unique. It's that authentic piece is really critical.
Yeah.
But I learned this from Tim Ferriss. I took that idea from Tim Ferriss and built on that and used it to my own advantage. So I took his idea and used it. So maybe someone could take it to their advantage and use what I did. But what I would say to somebody, if you're struggling with a story, think about what you do and why you do it. Think about the hard lessons you've learned and how they've shaped the person you are today. And think about your fears and how you can help other people to overcome theirs. Because the fact is, people are driven by emotion, and a good story allows them to see the human side of others. So what I would say is with a story, appeal to their nobler motives, appeal to their emotions, let them know what's going into your life. But if you are doing this to look for an extra 10 grand in your pocket or to go on a holiday, it's not going to work. And these guys are smart. They sniff out this. So be authentic. And I do think it has to be in the service of other people. I think my mission was more important than my story. I think the story created intrigue, but everybody has a story, and let them know what your story is. And that's what I would say to that.
And so this week we're talking specifically about how to find mentors. And last week I touched briefly on if you're reaching out to someone from a business perspective, like capture their attention, but demonstrate how you can add value to them. Don't tell them about yourself, because at least don't lead with that, because they don't care. How can you add value to their life or to their business? But this is different again. Like you're not necessarily adding value here. You're giving them, capturing their attention, certainly with intrigue, with an interesting story. But I think, as you say, you're appealing to their inner senses. Like I'd say they're 81% came back to you because here's an opportunity for them potentially to give back in some way to the mission that you mentioned, if you like. And the fact that your story was so appealing, I think that's what captured people's attention with this particular email.
Yeah, and I think the value piece is key as well, everyone, because what they're actually doing is they're giving value by giving their services back. So you're providing value to them by giving them the opportunity for that as well. But I think providing value is really, really critical. And there's some great works out there about providing value for other people. And it's really just and I think here's something that's really, really important as well. Lead with this. I want to take 1 minute of your time, like really, or one question, make it really small. So straight away they see, right, this is someone that gets straight to the point. They're not going to waste me time. Can I have 1 minute of your time? Can I ask you one question, something really small, and then try to provide value? And if you're doing that, providing value is the hard piece. You need to think about that, but that helps you to think about why you're going to these people in the first place. And it can't be all about you. I think that's really critical.
And not all these are your in-person mentors. And that's something I've certainly struggled with. I've never really reached out to be perfectly honest. I've had teachers, I've had, lecturers, business people, I've worked with colleagues in senior positions, but I wouldn't say I've had the kind of relationships that you've had. Certainly not just a direct mentor. They're literally only there to be a mentor, if you like. I have in books or online, if you like, through some certain courses. But I think you have a lot of your mentors are, as you said, they're dead a couple of hundred, or even 1,000 years.
Thousands of years.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying as well, Brian. Like Adam Grant is one of your mentors. He doesn't know who you are, but you take his.
Well, not yet, Brian.
Not yet. I love that. And that's it. I have a principle that guides my life. It's basically, what would Marcus do? So when I'm stuck in a certain situation, I'd say, right, what would Marcus do? And I'm talking about Marcus Aurelius. He's a great mentor of mine. He doesn't know that either. Not yet. But he was obviously a Roman.
You'll never know, I'm afraid.
You never know. You never know what's possible. But he was obviously a Roman emperor back in BC, and he was an incredibly wise person. He was one of the first Stoics, or the prominent Stoics of the world. And he just has a book called Meditations, and I would access his book. And I use Marcus as the example, but Eckhart Tolle would be my spiritual mentor. Tim Ferriss would be my tactical mentor. So I say, what would Tim do? What would Eckhart do? And basically what that does, it takes you out of your perspective, out of your little world, and puts you in the shoes of them as much as you can think about that as well. And that's like what you were saying you do with Adam Grant. Like, I'm sure you've used a lot of his tools, have you, in the past?
Absolutely, yeah. Like, just love everything he does. He's like one of the world's leading organizational psychologists. His books are fantastic. I love Originals specifically. Just talks about how not that it's even just okay to be that little bit different or unique, but it's actually a real strong selling point. And that's people that are unique, that are original, can really make the difference. And he just talks about how you might actually go, because it's not easy to be different, to be original. So just talks about that in the book, about how you can make that change and how you can speak up and avoid groupthink. But his podcast is excellent as well, the Work Life podcast. But he's got a phenomenal work ethic. Like, I think he was the youngest ever professor to get tenure at his university. He's just lashing out the white papers. It's just everything he does. He just, he breeds kind of positivity, positive work ethic, and just getting things done. So just a big fan of everything that he does. And I've learned a lot from him. He's got an excellent podcast, like I said, and just continues to thrash it out. So in terms of just a mentor, he's probably the one person I would go to. But I get a lot of mentorship from books, if you like, from courses, from programs. Probably the number one book that I refer to quite often is Start With Why, Simon Sinek. Just talking about, and I kind of try and use that for everything in business and in life. Why am I doing this particular piece of work? Or, what's the purpose behind this? So start with the purpose first before you get involved. Understand that once you have your why, then you can move on to the how and the what it might look like in the future. So love that whole idea. So that's kind of the mentorship that I get from people like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that book as well. And Simon Sinek could be another mentor of mine as well. Right. Just thinking of that, like I love is like the why you do, your what and your how have to align with your why. So something that always sticks out with me is the celery test. So if you're going into the supermarket and you have celery in your basket, like if your why is I'm doing this to be healthy, well, what have you got in your basket? If you have celery and apples and cabbage in your basket, what you do and how you do it aligns with your why. But if you have like a bit of celery, a bit of chocolate spread, a few jellies in that basket, they're your what's in your house. Does it align with what you do? So it's just really a nice little thing. What's in your basket? What are the what's and the hows of what you do in your basket? Do they align with why you actually do it? Like why I do what I do, I try to show people that change is possible. So if I'm running courses, if I'm doing this, that, and the other, but if I'm off balance and I'm doing something that's a bit off base or whatever like that, and let's say going investing in a coffee shop or something like that, something I want to do in my life, right? Does that align? What is that in my basket? Does it pass the celery test? Does it align with me why? And maybe I'd say, it's going to be a coffee shop that's based on personal well-being. Well, yeah, that aligns with me why, but it's got to align, and it's a great little test. I love Simon Sinek. He's fantastic.
He's brilliant, yeah. And that got me thinking, starting with why. Another way of kind of looking at that is if you're trying to make a decision on something, and he's one of the mentors in Tribe of Mentors is Derek Sivers. When he's analyzing something, he says, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no.
Yeah.
That's how he makes a decision. So if you're kind of thinking, might do that. That might be okay. For Derek Sivers, that's a no. So it's a hell yeah, or it's a no.
Or a no. That's one of my life mantras. So I've reached out to Derek Sivers probably about 7 times. He gets back to you. So Sivers at something.com. You get his email. He goes back, but he says no to everything. So I have a little ongoing joke. I'm hoping this one will be a hell yeah, Derek. And he says no, because he was living in Oxford, but now he's back in New Zealand. But I'm gonna get him at some stage. I'm gonna get him. But he answers every email if you want to reach out to Derek. Amazing. Yeah, he's amazing. Yeah. Amazing, yeah.
Cool. So we're coming up to 5. Any final thoughts on mentorship and how to find a mentor then?
The final thoughts, Brian, something that you said really resonated with me there, and it linked me to my own experiences. Like you're following Adam Grant and Simon Sinek, and if you were to reach out to people, it's that alignment that needs to be right. Like if you are aligned, if you do things in a very similar way to people you're reaching out to. So if I start reaching out to somebody that was a hard-hitting, I don't know, entrepreneur that stands on people's heads to get where they want to be in life, that's not what I do. I hope it's not what I do. It hasn't been so far, but it's like what do people do? Do they align? Are they similar? Is there similar values? Is there similar actions being taken? And it just dawned on me, like, what do you like to align with Adam Grant and Simon Sinek? And I was thinking of the people that I did reach out to and who were mentors of mine. It was accountability, taking responsibility for your life. They were the things that they did in their own lives, and they were impressed that I did in my own life. So that's why we vibe. So reach out to like-minded people, not just people that you want to connect with. Make sure they're aligned with who you are as a human being, and there's a much better chance of synergy happening there.
Very good. Yeah, you just reminded me there. I actually did reach out to Adam Grant there probably about a year ago now at this stage. I congratulated him on having the second best workplace well-being podcast out there. And if he'd be interested in coming on the best.
That's a great angle. That's a great angle. Did you get anything now?
Funnily enough, he has probably the world's greatest autoresponder to emails. And I have it somewhere in my folder there. I might get it out sometime, but he goes through, here's what you need to do to capture my attention. And it's all called out. I must dig it out for maybe a future.
Please do. I'd love to find that, because I'd love to I'm getting into organizational psychology now myself. So it's even from this now, you've triggered my mind. I want to get in contact with Adam Grant, because his tweets just blow me away. Like, it's brilliant.
Fantastic, aren't
they? Yeah. So any final thoughts yourself on that?
No, that's it. No, just reach out, be bold.
Be bold.
Be bold, like coming at it from a different angle. Don't just spam people. Do not just spam people. As we were saying last week, if it's LinkedIn, don't send an empty LinkedIn connection request. Don't send something saying, hey, I'd like to connect. Send something interesting. Capture their attention. Have a real reason for reaching out. And it can't be for just to make money for your own business. It just can't. There has to be a deeper purpose to it. Yeah, definitely. I align with all that. Yeah. So next week, Brian, what's the plans? What's the targets? So next week for me, I've got a big launch coming up on Thursday week. So I just need to prepare for that. I want to be 100% prepared for that by next Wednesday. I have to get my insurance, the park hit insurance, that has to be settled by next week. I want that to be in place. And then finally, I've been reactive a lot over the last couple of months. So I want to spend a little bit of time this week promoting, particularly my workshops. So I haven't done anything in that regard in a while. So I want to get back on track with that. And so workshop promotion, need to be more specific with that, to be honest, but I might work on that. But anyway, they're my 3 targets for next week. Yeah, love them. For myself, so basically marketing my course. So I have a big course that's starting in 2 weeks' time. It's called the Psychology of Neuroscience and Manifest, and got a great response to it so far. So basically for the next 2 weeks, but certainly this whole week and up to next week, it's going to be heavily marketing that on social media. That's the big push for that. In terms of the performance enhancement, I'm going to get specific about that sort of course and that project that I'm developing. I want to come up with a brand, a name that's going to capture that. So in terms of something specific, I want to come up with that name in the next week, and that's really critical for me as well. And then another thing that's a huge goal for me is to get some R&R. So I'm going away with my partner at the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and it's basically going to chill out, slow the brain down, recharge the batteries, and that is a huge goal for this week. So keep me accountable on that. Did I actually switch off? Lovely. I was going to say, great to see you putting that down as one of your priorities, one of your goals for this week. Where are you headed, by the way? We're heading out to Seafield. So I was 8 years clean last Friday, and it's a gift we're going to the Seafield in Wexford to a spa for a few days. Oh, lovely. Well, congratulations on that milestone as well. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah. That'll be lovely. So you'll be nice and fresh when you're talking to us next Wednesday. Fresh. I'll spa it up. I'll be really looking forward to that. Just to chill, just to relax, definitely. Yeah. So important, man. Enjoy that, and listen, have a great week ahead. You too. We'll chat again on Wednesday. Chat to you, man. See you later. Take care.